Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney and I am here today with shirt 3 of my one pattern 3 ways. We have been sewing through Vogue 8772, is that right? And actually I've been doing a sew along for this one as well. Let's see, Sunday was the first one, this past Sunday was the first one. So number 2, it's a 4-part sew along, will be on this Sunday. So anyway, we've been doing blouses and I'm now on to the very last one, and I have made a shacket for this one, which is a shirt jacket combo. Now before I get in and show you exactly what I did make, I did some pattern alterations for this one. So I added a yoke, so this shirt has, the pattern has a shoulder dart, which is very easy to eliminate and put that into a yoke seam, and I'm going to show you how I do that. I also added a pleat to the lower half of the back just to give myself a little bit more room, because the idea is that this would be easily layered over other shorts and that kind of thing as a jacket. So I show you how I do that. Let's see what else. I added a pocket to the front, and my inspiration for this was this shacket by Suzanne. Now the shacket that is here, I hate that word, but there's something about it that just doesn't sound right. But this jacket is made in a little bit heavier fabrics. In fact, I think that they've done a cotton twill, a denim version, and then even a faux suede version, or maybe it's real suede, I don't know. Anyway, I loved the angled pocket on this and decided that that was kind of the pocket I wanted to add to mine. So I show you how I draft that. And then finally, I did widen the cuff a little bit so that I could easily get my hand in and out without having to unbutton the cuff. My other versions, which most blouse, they're a little bit tighter, and sometimes I can get my hand through, but you know, you kind of have to force it. And I wanted to be able to very easily get my hand in and out of this cuff if I was going to be wearing it as kind of a jacket. Yes, so that is what I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so this is our final shirt with this pattern for this series. We're going to be doing a little bit more hacking on this one. As you can see, I have a big mess here. So let's go through the pieces. I'm going to be putting the regular collar on this version like I did on my first version. So let's go through the pieces we're not going to be changing. So I'm going to be using the collar piece per normal, which is piece 4, and the collar stand, which is piece 5. Also, I'm using the sleeve placket, again, the tower placket from my Liesl & Co. classic shirt. I will have popped a link into the video if you want to know how to sew a tower placket, because it is different from this pattern. So I'll pop that link in. Hopefully I already have at the beginning of this video. And then the sleeve. This is going to be a minimal change. So I'm going to leave the sleeve pretty much as is. The only thing I'm going to change is I do want this shirt jacket, shacket, whatever you want to call it, to be easily put over my hands without unbuttoning the cuff. Obviously my shirt is a little bit tighter. I can get my hand in through without unbuttoning the cuff, but it is a little bit tighter. And if I have my Apple Watch on, which I'm frequently wearing, it's a little bit even harder because it just catches. So I want to make my cuff just a little bit bigger. I don't need to do anything to the sleeve. I will just, excuse me, adjust the pleat here. And actually when I did my denim shirt, I noticed that it says to ease right through here in the pattern. There's a lot of excess sleeve here that you have to ease into that cuff. So I'm not going to do anything with my sleeve other than just alter that dart bulk, and I will, that pleat bulk is what I'm trying to say. And I'll just kind of do that on the fly. I'll make them even, but I'll just kind of do that on the fly as I'm fitting that into the cuff. So what I'm going to do for the cuff piece, which is hiding over here, is that when I cut this out, I'm just going to add an inch, I think 1.25 inches to the end here. So I'll making the same rectangle. I'll just be extending this past 1.25 inches. And I really just leave this as a rectangle. I don't even really mark any of my notches on this piece. So I'm not even going to worry about that. I'm just going to add 1.25 inches to the end here and call it good. All right, so those are the pieces that are easy. We're going to talk about the front really quick, and then the back's going to be a little bit more in depth. So I want to add a pocket to this, and I showed you at the beginning of this video kind of my inspiration, that Suzanne shirt jacket that I kind of want to play around with, and they had this gorgeous huge pocket that came down at an angle. that went from the side seam to the front placket. Now, what I've done here is I've drawn basically the pocket in, and then I've traced it off. So I want my pocket actually to end at this second fold line. So when the pattern has you actually folding, you know, your inner face, your front, which I'll do, and then it has you folding this back. It has you folding at this line to the wrong side, and then again at this line to the wrong side to form that placket. I'm actually going to do it opposite. I'm going to fold it to the right side and then to the right side and then top stitch it down. And I don't want my pocket to be in all of that fold, but I do want it to butt up to that final fold. So I'm actually going to have my pocket go from this fold line here down to the hem, and I'm doing the longer hem on this one. I've done the shorter hem before, and while I'm thinking about it, I had a lot of people ask how I cut the hem of the other shirts without cutting the pattern. I use a tracing wheel that has a serrated kind of end, and I just trace it on the pattern, and I press really hard when I'm going, so I've basically perforated the pattern there, but it will leave little dots on the fabric below, and then I can immediately just lift this up and cut that line on the that hem line on the fabric. So I did have questions on that. I'm sorry I didn't explain that more. Anyway, I am doing the longer hem on this. You can sew the slits in the side if you want. I thought about doing that, but I think I'm going to omit that. I'm very straight through the hips anyway, so I don't think I need that split just for comfort. So I think I like the idea of it anchoring the pocket in more, but you could definitely sew that slit if you wanted to per the pattern. Okay, so I've drawn my line, and I basically just went an inch below the waistline here for my starting point, and then I just arbitrarily picked a point. I just picked here the hem of the previous, because I know that that hits me kind of high hip on my body, and I'm like, well, that's a good place for that opening to end. So I have then, as this piece, traced that off. So just basically lined up this piece of paper and traced all of that off for my pocket piece. Now we're gonna move this. As far as anything else to the front, I am gonna sew the side dart, but obviously I'm not doing anything else with the waist dart. I haven't done the waist dart on any of the versions. So I have my seam allowance that's included, because I traced this directly off the top. My seam allowance is included on this side. This I'm going to bump up right to the fold line, so I don't need to add any seam allowance there. And then my hem allowance is already added on here. I'm basically just going to be attaching this and basting this in the seam allowance and in the hem allowance and then to the front of the shirt. And then it will just get sewn in as one. Obviously, I'll leave this top area free. But the only thing I need to do is add my hem allowance here to the top of the pocket. So this is what's going to get folded in on itself. And you can do whatever you want here. What I'm going to do, I think, is 1 inch and 1 inch, similar to the way I do my placket, just so I have a nice, meaty, and deep kind of seam there at the edge of the pocket. Because I also think I've marked my grain line in for the pattern piece, and this matches the front of the jacket, but I've also marked in a bias one, because I think since I'm using a check fabric, I think I'm going to do my pocket on a bias, which obviously is going to make it a little less stable. So take that into consideration, but I think I'm going to do that. It'll just give it a little added interest. So I've added 1 inch here, and notice I've gone way past my lines, and you're going to see why here in just a second. But I've done 1 inch, and then I think I'm going to do 2 inches because I think that's just going to give it some nice heft. Although if you're short on fabric, or if you're using a really thick fabric, you could do one of these like 1/4 of an inch, to where you're folding, you know, 1/4 of an inch over and then 1 inch, or whatever you want to do. It's kind of up to you. So now, in order to true my sides of this pocket piece, I'm going to fold these like I would be sewing them. It helps, a tracing wheel also helps to perforate the paper, just makes it easier to fold. So you'll notice I am perforating the bottom 2 lines. No, I don't really need to do the top one, because that's going to be where we end. So I am going to fold this line to this line, which is exactly how I would be sewing this. You could probably trim a little bit of the paper if it's too cumbersome. Okay, so that's my first fold. And then I would be folding it again. I'm actually going to go over this again so that I am perforating through both layers just to make it easier to fold. Then I'll fold it again. So this is exactly how this would be folded and pressed when I sew it. Okay, so there you can kind of see through the paper my nice 1 inch, and then this would get top stitched down. But what I want to do is, you can do this 2 ways. You can take your tracing wheel and mark through this line to true that up on both sides. Or you can also just cut. We'll trim the top excess here in just a second. Okay, so when we unfold this, you will see that you have, you know, these crazy lines, and that is what the fabric has to do in order to true it. And then you can just cut along this top line here. And that's what your pocket piece looks like. And you can, don't forget, you can hit tissue paper with your iron, just a dry iron, if you want to really, you know, iron that flat. So there we go. There's the pocket piece. Now I will interface probably just one of the 1 inch sides. I don't think I need to do 2, although you could. I don't know. But I will be interfacing this so that it's nice and stable once everything gets folded. So again, when you're sewing, you know, you'll fold 1 inch over, give it a good press, you know, it over 1 inch again, turn it over, you know, top stitch that down, and then there's the hem at the top of your pocket when you're wearing it. Okay, and everything else will be basted onto the body of the shirt. So there is my pocket piece. So that's nice and easy. And then for my back. Now I feel like I've been looking at a lot of like the shirt jacket patterns, as well as just ready to wear shirt jackets, and they are oversized, which ideally if you were doing just a regular button-up shirt, you would size up so you get a little bit of a drop shoulder effect and that kind of thing. Obviously I have this one a little bit more tailored to my body, and really the Suzanne one that I'm kind of modeling this after a little bit is a little bit more fitted through the shoulders. So I think this is going to be okay, but I do want to add a little bit more room in the back. I will not be doing anything with the waist darts on this, obviously, because I want it to be nice and loose. But what I am going to do is add a yoke. So what I've done is I have traced off my back, and I've put my dart, my shoulder dart here. I've not done anything with the waist dart because I'm just going to ignore that. And I've done the longer hem length. I have marked this spot here if you wanted to do the side slit, but I'm going to omit that. Make sure you mark your notches for your sleeve, and notches match up the side. And then you can move your back. So now this back's not going to be used at all. So it can go away. So what I want to do is I'm going to add a yoke, and I also want to add a pleat to my back piece, just to give myself a little bit more room and make it easier to put on over things. So first, we are going to make our yoke, and that is a very easy thing to do. And in doing the yoke, we'll be able to omit this shoulder dart. So pick a spot. I'm sure that there is a standard, you know, a yoke is usually, you know, this deep or whatever. honestly, you can just kind of pick your spot. So I'm just gonna go, let's see, I'm gonna go I'll go 6 inches down. And I'm gonna mark just a line straight across, like so. And I'm going to cut. Okay, for the bottom part of the shirt, all I'm gonna do is a couple of things. Put my yoke over here. I want to add a pleat, so I am gonna add some excess back here. So this is my center fold line here. I'm just going to extend out an inch actually, because I want a nice deep pleat. And I'm gonna sew it as an inverted pleat. So it will be, I'll bring my edges in and it'll be like a backwards box pleat. An inverted box pleat, however you want to say that. So I'm just adding paper down, and then I'm just going to add in, where's my ruler, an inch. So here is my original ending line. So I'm literally just adding a line an inch past that original fold line. Keep everything straight. It's a little hard to see. So now this line an inch past is going to be my new fold line. But obviously this has to fit the yoke again. So I'm going to make up here. So now my fold line is here. But I'm going to make, take this down a little bit more, a notation up here at the original fold line. That's where my dart is gonna, I'll mark my center point here, but these are gonna be my dart points that are gonna be pulled together to create that pleat. Why do I keep calling it a dart? These are gonna be my pleat points. Now, we did just cut this off the pattern, so now I need to add seam allowance up here to the top. So I'm just gonna add in some paper to do, let's do this. Go ahead and cut this. I haven't added those notches in yet because I'll add them in the seam allowance. Okay, so now a little bit of tape. And I'm gonna add 5/8 of an inch seam allowance in there, because that's what's being used on the rest of the pattern. There's my fold line. So I will, when I cut this out, I'll mark the center, but then I also am gonna add notch here. And those will be my pleat markers that I'll bring together to create my pleat. And then we want to true this up here. Okay, so now that is our new lower back part. And all we've done is we've added a pleat, and then obviously this yoke. Now, one thing I did think about doing was eliminating some of the waist shaping at the side seam a little bit, just to make it a little bit more oversized. But then I got to thinking, you know, with eliminating the waist darts completely and then adding this pleat in the back, I don't think I need to touch any of the waist shaping, and then it'll give me a little bit of shape. so that I'm not being swallowed by the shirt. Okay, so here's my back. I'm going to cut one of these on the fold. Obviously the grain line is the fold line there on that piece. Okay, so here's my lower back. You should also label all of your pieces. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay, now this is when things get fun. So here's my yoke piece. I love dart manipulation. Hold on, I'm just gonna tape this excess paper down. It drives me nuts when excess paper gets caught on things. Okay. All right, so we have the top part of the back that we have cut off, and we want to get rid of this dart. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to draw one of the legs of our dart. We're going to take it all the way down to the base of the pattern, and we are going to cut. So what we are doing here, and we're cutting it completely, is we are transferring the dart that we need there for the back into the seam line here where it will get attached to the bottom of the shirt. So now I'm going to add some tape to shut that. So I have closed the dart up here at the top, which has then pushed my dart bulk to the bottom. So we can fill that in with some paper. And it's created a curved line here at the bottom. It's no longer straight, which is what we want, because you will be easing this into the straight line of the back. And this is pretty much anything you've ever sewn with the yoke. You'll notice there's a slight curve at the bottom, and that's why they have rotated shoulder dart out here to the seam line. So I'm just going to true this up really quick, because just like so. And now the only thing we need to do is add the seam allowance to the bottom. So we are going to do that. And this is going to get, barely have enough there, don't I? I may need extra. This yoke piece will also get cut out on the fold. So we will still cut out on the fold, but I'm going to cut out two, because I'm going to sew this really cleanly with the burrito method, like you would for a lot of shirts, really. Pretty much anything that's got a yoke does that. Make sure you're curving. I think we can get away with that. All right, and so we've got this on the fold. So now this is my new yoke piece, and again, I'm going to cut out two on the fold of my new yoke piece. And all that beautiful shaping from that dart has been moved into the seam line of the yoke, which I just think is so much, I mean, I don't know, dart manipulation I find to be just so fascinating. I love it. And there you have it. There's my yoke piece. So this will get now sewn to the lower part of the body. And there you have it. That is all of the pattern alterations that I'll be making for this. Yeah, and all the changes that I'm making to the pattern. Hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have questions. Okay, so before the break, I forgot to mention, I did do a tower placket on this shirt, and this pattern actually uses a continuous bias placket. So, or not bias, the continuous lapped placket. So it is not on the bias. Nothing is on the bias on that one. Anyway, I'm going to link up here if you are interested in doing a tower placket as opposed to the continuous lap placket. You can go to this video and I'll show you how to do that. And you can change up any pattern to go either way. But this is the one on how to do a tower placket, which is what I did for this shirt. Okay, let's talk about the shirt. So I didn't make any adjustments to the size, as you saw, just the little adjustments that you saw me make on the pattern. I used a rayon jacquard that I got from StyleMaker Fabrics shortly after their fall fabric, their fall style tour, because she had this and I just loved it. It has black, obviously. It's kind of this cranberry color, which I love to wear. And it does have black for the check, which isn't a color I normally wear, but I thought I would give it a go and see how I like it, because black's just not a neutral that I wear. I wear a lot of navy, chocolate browns. That's kind of it as far as dark neutrals. I wear other neutrals, but as far as dark ones. Anyway, I thought I would give it a go and really love it. I think I mentioned on the video, I did make the longer line version. I'll show you me in this. I'll show actual footage of me in this in just a second. But I made the longer length, and so I think I kind of like the oversizedness of it. Actually, it reminds me, I was born 1980, so I was a kid in the 80s and a teenager in the 90s, and it reminds me of something I might have worn in the 90s, which I kind of like, that little nod to that. I used much larger buttons than I would have used for the other two shirts. These are like probably a 7/8, 3/4 to 7/8. I had them in my stash that I bought at a flea market. I love grabbing things like that at flea markets. It makes things, you can usually get nice quality buttons for a fraction of the price, which I did. I've got buttons on both cuffs. I did lengthen the cuffs by 1.25 inches. I did notice, so this pattern has you easing part of the sleeve into the cuff, and then there's a pretty large pleat in there as well. So I just thought, well, I'll just adjust the pleat and not mess with the sleeve at all. I ended up being able to almost take the entire pleat that's in the pattern, even with adding 1.25 inches. So that tells you how much ease they want you to ease in to the cuff, which is a little ridiculous. For my other version, my silk version, I gathered that in, the whole thing, into the cuff. So that doesn't really, didn't play it a part. But in my denim version, I did notice that I had to take a much deeper pleat than what they had suggested, even with some easing. So anyway, if you're having that issue, that was what I found as well with the pattern. I love these big deep pockets. Now obviously, because of the fabric, it's a rayon. They're a drapey pocket, but I kind of like that. I kind of think that gives it a little extra something around my hip line, which we all know I'm always trying to accentuate, make a little larger. Did the regular collar and collar stand on this, regular sleeve, did the tower placket on there. So when I was cutting this out, I was like, okay, which one's the right side of the fabric? And I will be honest, when I was looking at it, I'm like, well, there's not really, like, they're both neat. Like, there's not really a right or a wrong side. So I'm like, I'll just pick one. So I did. And then as I was sewing it, I'm like, oh no, there is definitely a right side to this fabric. And I picked the wrong one. But I'm consistent throughout the entire shirt. So now it is a design detail. Because if you look at the inside, this is actually the right side. That's the right side of the fabric, which is now my wrong side of the fabric. And then that is what I have chosen for the right side. I don't know what my eyeballs were. I don't know. I don't know what happened there, to be honest. But I stuck with it, and that is the right side of the fabric. I have my nice big pleat that's here in the back that gives me a little bit of room. There's no darts up here just because we put that into the yoke seam there. I do have bust darts, which I think do add some shaping, and I left the waist shaping into this pattern, and I really think that it hugs the body well. And just the drapiness of the rayon jacquard, I think makes it not look too oversized, because it is a much longer shirt, and I am only 5'2", but I think that this really works for that. And that's all I did to this pattern. I really left it as is. A lot of the shirt jackets that I've seen online have like a little bit of a drop shoulder to where they look almost like oversized, like you're wearing like your husband or boyfriend or whatever's shirt as a jacket. But actually, making this one into my shirt jacket with the shoulders fitting properly, I think helps not overwhelm my frame. Sometimes with the oversized look, because I'm only 5'2", it can really overwhelm my frame pretty easily, and I think that this actually worked out better for me. So yay to the power of sewing. So yeah, there's my shirt jacket. I love it. I think it's pretty great. Oh, the other thing I did, instead of, which actually you can see the right side of the fabric there too, instead of turning the placket wrong side, I turned it right side, so that I could catch the pocket really well in that sewing. So the pocket only extends right to the edge of that last fold, which you saw when I was drafting it. And I think that that works really well. And I've interfaced, I drafted a separate piece for the interfacing for the top of this, so that the hem at the top of the pocket is interfaced. I think that works out really well too. What else? I think this is gonna be a great little layer to kind of throw on. It is dark and it's more fall colors, I would say, but that's also my color palette. So I think throwing this over white would be actually pretty nice for spring and just kind of really brighten things up, like a monochromatic even look. I will pop footage, I'll pop footage of me now in the whole thing. Obviously, I feel like I've styled it a little more wintry and fall, which, by the way, these orange pants have gotten so much wear this fall, winter. Who would have thought that orange flared pants would have such a place in someone's closet? But they do in mine. I love these pants so much. They just go with everything. I guess that's the magic of sewing in your color palette. Everything kind of goes together. But I really like these together, and I wasn't sure that the really, really wide flare that I was gonna like it with the longer shirt, but I think because it is drapey, it all kind of works together, and I really like it as a jacket over there. But yes, I think also over white would be really nice, or like an ivory. I don't see myself, I mean, I could see you wearing this over like a fitted black shirt and it looking nice. I just don't see me ever having any black in my closet. I just don't think I would get, you know, I would be making it just to wear with this, and I don't think that that's worth it. But I can see me wearing it over, I do have a lot of this color. Oddly enough, this kind of cranberry color, and I do like that monochromatic look, or obviously could wear it over white and that kind of thing. But yes, I'm so pleased with how that turned out. And oh my goodness, here we are at the end, and I mean, this pattern has just really gone the distance, I feel like, for me. Sorry, it's Gidget's sound asleep here next to me. I've really gone the distance, so I will put at the end of the video all three of the shirts, so you can kind of see all three of the shirts. But now my mind is kind of racing on all the different options that you could make. A button-up shirt is just so classic. You can do so much with it. Not just this pattern, but any pattern that you like, a button-up pattern that you like that fits you well. So easy to switch it up a little bit. I think like the pussy bow blouse as a dress would be really cute, and you could just really extend it. Actually, the length that it is right now that I made for this shirt jacket, I could probably lengthen that just a couple more inches, and that would be a dress for me, just because I'm short. But obviously you could add as much length as you want, but because it has that longer length line, it takes into consideration hip. So if you needed to, you know, widen it a little bit more for your hip, you know where that comes at, you know, at the pattern, which I think is very helpful. You could also leave the shirt tail hem if you wanted to and really lengthen it into dress length. Just make it, you know, like a really long shirt basically that you could belt or whatever, that I think would be amazing. You could cut the pattern off at the waist, add a waistband and put a circle skirt on there. You just need to add the button placket all the way down and have like a fit and flare shirt dress, or wouldn't even have to be a full circle skirt. You could do an A-line skirt or whatever, and you wouldn't even have to add a waistband in. You could just sew, you know, a seam of the top of the shirt to a skirt of any fashioning. Just a matter of also putting in the similar button band there on the front. So, I mean, yeah, sky's the limit. And I also, Adina and I, one of my viewers, she had sent me a picture that she found on Pinterest, I think she said, of a bow blouse that was one fabric in the body, like a floral, and then a pattern mixing with the different floral fabric for the bow. And was it just the bow? No, I'm trying to remember. Or if it had the cuffs. So many, sky's like totally the limit. Christy Russell, that I've talked about on here before, she's also a style YouTuber here, and she's the one that did my colors actually, but she had on a shirt not that long ago, but it was a bow blouse, button-up bow blouse, but it had two really similar fabrics, but like one side of the shirt was one fabric, and then the other side of the shirt was the other fabric, and then the tie was opposite. So like this fabric was on this side of the tie and this fabric was on this side of the tie, which you could do with this pattern because the tie has a seam in the back. And then I can't remember if the sleeves were also opposite or if they were just one fabric. And then I don't know that I ever saw the back of the shirt, but they were just subtly different. Like they were the same colors, just one had a little bit bigger print than the other side, but it wasn't busy. I don't know, it was really cool. So yeah, my mind just starts racing. And then I showed you guys the Bowden shirts last week with the bow. But yeah, a button up collared shirt is just so classic. You can really take one pattern that you really like and get it to fit you and just really run the gamut. So anyway, also I slept on my neck wrong yesterday, so I can't look to the left like at all. So sorry if I'm acting a little stiff. God, I hate when that happens. It'll be fine. We have one of those handheld massagers. I'll have to hit it later to get that not out. Anyway, that is all I have for today. So that is our one pattern 3 ways. I love how it turned out. Stay tuned on Sundays if you're interested in sewing the View A and B, which are basically, they're the Pussy Bow blouse version on this pattern. That's what I'm doing the sew along for. And again, week 2 starts will be on Sunday, and it's a 4-week sew along. So yeah, you've got that to look forward to. I will be doing a pants pattern for the same thing, one pattern 3 ways. I have not completely decided. I'm leaning towards the Persephone pants by Anna Allen just because I'm really interested to try it. I won't be doing a sew along for this, just because my next sew along after this blouse is over, you know, I'll have a gap week where I do a tutorial, and then I'm going to be doing the Vogue trench coat. So I won't be doing a sew along for this next for the bottom pattern. And probably not for the topper either, although maybe. We'll see how that times out. But I did just want to, again, take another pattern and how you can really utilize any pattern. Now, the Anna Allen one, the Persephones, only go, I think they're a size 00 to size 20, so not a huge size range on those. But the Love Notions glissando pants are very similar. So I'm going to, and I've made those before, I was a pattern tester for that one. So that's, I think, would be a very... For any of the hacks that I do to the Anna Allen ones, you could easily do to the glissandos as well. And the glissandos do have a very large size range. And I would use the glissandos, but I just am really interested in trying, I just love trying new patterns. And I've just had my eye on those Persephone pants for a while. So, but again, the glissandos are very similar. So I think that it would be a good one to try as well. I think I'm going to play around. Number one, fabric's going to be the main thing for the one pattern 3 ways for the pants. That's going to be the big, like, making a difference in what they look like. I'll be doing different lengths on each pair. I'm going to do a full length pair, a cropped pair, and a pair of shorts. But I think I'll probably play around with the fly a little bit. I think the Persephones come with a button fly. Oops, sorry, Gidget. I think. I could be wrong. But I'm going to play around and do, we could play around with an exposed button fly, a hidden button fly, and a zip fly for those. And I can show you how to change a pattern pretty easily to do any of those 3 ways. So, and actually I have a series already on the channel on how to sew all 3 of those type of flies. But I don't know, we'll kind of just consolidate it into one little series so you can see it all over again. It's pretty... or at least how to draft it, and then I can send you maybe to those videos on how to actually sew them. They're not really that hard, so. Anyway, that's kind of my thoughts for the next pattern. I'm going to probably put a little bit of a gap. There is some videos that I kind of want to get up here as we get into March. So one thing that I am going to be doing here soon is my spring ready-to-wear or street style type looks paired with patterns. So I've been working on that and getting some outfits put together and pairing those with patterns. So that will be coming up here pretty soon. I have a sew the look that I still want to get to before we come out of winter. Yeah, and then yeah, we've got just a whole bunch of fun stuff coming as we delve into spring. But yes, the one pattern 3 ways for the bottoms will be coming, but probably not next Friday. I'll probably have, you know, at least 1, maybe 2 week break before I do the pants for this one pattern 3 way series. So Stay tuned. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I know a lot of you maybe think you've hit and haven't. I think when I look at my analytics, only about 60% of the people that watch my videos are actually subscribed. So yeah, definitely hit that subscribe button. That does help the channel, helps YouTube know to recommend me to more people, and helps it to grow. So yes, make sure you hit that if you haven't already. All right, guys, I hope you have a wonderful Friday, and I will see you all Sunday for part 2 of the sew along. Bye.